You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. We're here each week, been doing this for many, many years, and the listeners are spreading. And so now we're broadcast basically from the White Mountains over to the river and Flagstaff and the reservation area down through, just north of Anthem. And so, and everything in between. It's building. And the garden advice you'll hear on the Mountain Gardener up here in the high country. And no matter where we're at, we're all above that 1,000 to 1,800 foot of Tucson, Phoenix, the deserts. We're up in God's country, up where gardens shine. We're the perennials. We grow the best perennials. You know, perennials need some cold in the winter seasons. Fruit trees like apples, pears, cherries, peaches, apricots, nectarines, they all need cooling or chilling hours to perform well. The deserts can't grow those. They grow citrus. Okay, so what? Okay, so they have one fruit tree they can grow. We've got all the others. And they're all up here: grapes, brambles, the blackberries, raspberries, currants. They all grow really well. The flatlanders of the deserts, they just dream they could grow those. Lilacs have been blooming spectacularly. Are they gorgeous or what? What I do here at the garden center, I put the lilac right on the ends of the end caps. And so people walk by and they go, "What's that smell? Oh, it smells so good." And there's one on every cart that goes through the garden center. It's so the gardenias have gone into bloom. I've got a real the hardiest gardenia you can grow here. We can't grow just every specimen, but there is one that does very well. That's a perennial. I put that one up near the perennial section, the shade. It's a shade lover. Up near the annual section, and people drive by or walk by, go, "Oh, the gardenias smell so good." We grow them so well up here, they can't grow them down in the valley areas. So we don't grow palm trees, but we do grow figs. They do very well. Pomegranates, there's a hardy variety. So we're here to help you figure out what can you grow up here in the high country, not the low country. Of course, all of our garden media comes out of Phoenix or Tucson. And so our university extension office or college, university is U of A. I'm sorry to say, I'm an ASU guy. Go Sun Devils! Sorry, Lumberjacks. Sorry, are you Wildcats? But our university, the university responsible for getting all of the agriculture information out to the other counties is in Tucson. So they are skewed towards desert. We've got all the media. I mean, the bodies of Arizona live in Phoenix and surrounding areas, cities down there. Well, they're broadcasting because that's where all the people live, and it filters up here to the North Country, but you can't take that garden advice and use it up here. And so that's why I started writing garden columns. That's where it started in the newspaper. That garden column is the same one that is emailed out each week to 8,500 people now. It's and growing. It's crazy. I post that on our Facebook accounts. I shoot some quick videos and post them to our YouTube channel. And then ultimately it ends up here. It's the outline for each week. What we're going to talk about here on the radio show. A garden program, a garden column, you're limited to 600-700 words. I mean, how much can you cover that many words? Here I get an hour to expound upon that, which is really great. This week, it was getting the most out of your spring nursery visit. A garden center can be really overwhelming. And so there's so many plant choices. How do you choose? Where do you even start? If you're new to a house and you bought that short sale or that foreclosure, like so many have, you're coming in, you're going, "Man, the privacy screen just died. What do I do?" Or it's so stressed out. How do I get this plant to recover before I start ripping things out and replacing them? Should I do that? And so that's what we want to cover on this program, and we want to help you be more successful. And so this week I just put together a list of how should you start tackling this spring's garden projects, and how do you go to the nursery and not spend too much. How do you spend enough? It's easy to buy a few plants, you take them home, and all of a sudden your landscape completely swallowed your plants. You're going, man, I got to go back. I wasn't even close to enough. It's a way they look so large here at the garden center. A 5-gallon plant up on a table. We're showing them off. And then you get them home and you should have bought 5 of them instead of 3 of them just to get any kind of presentation in the backyard. Here's the list. And so I wanted to cover that. We'll kind of float through this list. Also, I have got an incredible new lavender that just went into bloom. I want to mention that in the show. Super hardy plant. I think every landscape should have a lavender in it because they do so well. But this one, it's got the biggest, largest flower. We'll cover that one as well. It's called the Spring Bee Lavender. But where to start in the landscape? If you show up, now we love this at a garden center. You came in to kill thrip or an aphid, and you walk out with a cartload, maybe sometimes 2 cartloads of flowers and perennials and shrub and just stuff because you're in the mode. You've been pent up. Gardeners, we've just been pent up indoors. It's been a cold winter, and we've had a week's worth of really nice weather, and we're ready to go. And so that happens so often. If you don't come prepared, you'll buy too much or too little. We're hoping you buy too much, honestly, at the garden center. But you'd be better off taking home a little bit. Have us take care of it until you get those 5-10 plants in the ground, those flowers, those pots done. Then come back. Have us be the storage. Have us be the garage. Have us be the back patio, the garden shed. We'll take care and pamper them until you're ready for more. It's better to make more trips to a garden center, I guarantee you, than it is to take a truckload home. This is even good advice for you folks coming in from Williams. I had folks from Baghdad, Hillside, Seligman, Sedona, Camp Verde. It's better. We're a regional garden center. It's worth the hour drive and take home 10, 15 plants at a time, little segment, than it is to take them home and go, oh man, I forgot. I didn't water today. But even still, you just want to take them home, get them in the ground, and they just perform. As soon as a plant gets stressed out more than twice, it tends to struggle. I mean, you can get it a couple times where it starts to get wilty, but after you do that 2 or 3 times, you're almost programming that plant to always be wilty, to always be ugly. Don't do that. The first bit of advice I can give you is don't buy plants from a warehouse. I'm just telling you, a plant that's inside a greenhouse, much less inside a warehouse, is weak. It's emaciated. It doesn't know what the sun is. It's stressed out. It will not transfer very well for you out in especially full sun plants. Don't buy from a warehouse, these big box retailers. You don't want a plant that's under fluorescent lighting, temperature-controlled environment, and then don't expect that plant to go home and perform well for you. It's just not going to do it. And so it's going to stress out. It's going to defoliate. It's going to get wind whipped. It's not going to adapt well. I would say also, if you're buying a plant from the front of a grocery store, okay, I am biased. I'm telling you, I'm up front, but I'm trying to talk to you, kind of your next door neighbor. We're leaning over the fence. We're talking to each other. We're just chatting about gardening. And I happen to know a thing or two about gardening. I'm just telling you some experiences you don't really want to experience. Those plants that are out in front of grocery stores, drug stores, I mean, everyone, warehouse. I mean, folks that are nuts and bolts, your hardware stores, they don't have plant people taking care of plants. They're out sweeping and selling nuts and bolts, and all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, well, why are all the tomatoes wilting? Why did the strawberries just drop all their fruit? What's going on? Oh, we should water those. They don't have plant people taking care of those plants. The secret to success is getting the right plant at the right time and making sure that plant that is at the right time is a healthy plant. You put a healthy specimen in the landscape, it's going to take off and grow. You put a stressed out plant, it's like taking a sick child home, go and play and be happy, jump around. And they're still hacking up, loogies, or they're wheezing, they're challenged. Well, sick plants do the same thing in the yard. So that's where we'll end with this segment. We got Lisa Waterslane coming in with your Q&A questions. We'll be back with more.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, also known as the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain landscapes.
Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead, cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet, rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop. Hi, Ken, with the plant of the week and our cherry jolt, dianthus.
Jumpstart the color in the garden with a generous helping of this jolting dianthus.
The cherry fragrant flowers come atop rich green foliage.
A sun worshiper through and through, growing 12 inches, and knows how to draw the butterflies to their nectar-laden flowers.
Uniquely Waters and just $11.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, where people who love flowers that jolt, they love to shop. In a new place, it's difficult to know who to trust, how to get help at the house, and which nursery will simply do what they say they'll do.
At Waters Garden Center, we're here to help, in the landscape at least.
Our team of plant ambassadors know your neighborhood, the plants that add color, increase privacy, and add fragrance and beauty.
And we can show you exactly how to plant locally, or we have teams to do all the work for you.
We are Ken and Lisa Lane, and we guarantee our plants will live up to every promise here at Waters Garden Center.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we're back with The Mountain Gardener. We're here each week talking about local gardening and responding to many of your questions, things that are going on here in the gardens just surrounding us. When something happens in your yard, it's not just your yard. It's the entire neighborhood. It's that whole side of town. I would venture to say it's virtually all of northern Arizona at once. When the aphids hit, to when something goes into bloom, like the peaches are going into bloom right now, that beautiful pink tree in full bloom, or the red buds. They're also in bloom right now. They all happen at once. So we get these questions going, what is that, Ken? What is that, Lisa? And so we give a segment to Lisa Waterslane, and she's the one that answers those emails. Lisa, yes. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do is just give a shout out to some of our customers.
Sure, great idea.
I think we have the most amazing, best customers in the world.
No doubt.
So last week, one of our customers, and I forgot to get her name, darn it, was listening to us. We were talking about javelina.
Yeah.
And we were calling them pigs.
Okay.
So she brought me this book called Critters of Arizona, Pocket Guide. She goes, they're not pigs. And I said, well, I know, but I like to call them pigs. Because
they have the appetite of a pig, that's for sure.
They do. But she brought me this little book. It talks about all the critters in Arizona, and it tells us about the pigs, the javelina, and they say it's a pig-like species native to North America, but it's not a true pig. And she's right, it's not. It's a collared peccary. How do you say that?
Pickerel?
Pig?
Yeah. They all start with P.
Yeah. Say it 3 times fast. But I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
we do have good customers that way.
They keep us on our toes. So that was kind of cool. Thanks for that. And the other one is a shout out to Joe. He brought me this.
What is that? That's amazing.
And I forget where he told me he used to live, but it's the TV Garden Club, and he was part of it. And they had this old guy, and he put this book out.
It looks like it's put together with a typewriter.
No.
Awesome. Pre-word processor.
He typed that whole thing out. But it's really cool. And it had all kinds of neat old gardening information, things that's kind of that people used to do has kind of been lost to the art of different things, propagating and all that kind of stuff. So I have had fun reading that, and I wanted to say thank you to Joe for bringing that in.
Pull a few tidbits out. You know, sometimes Well, if you go too far forward, you start to get too creative and you forget what really works. And you got to go backwards and go, where would our roots come from? And you just got to reset. We do that in business. We get so crazy. 50 years in business this year. So many times when you lose track, you go, where were we at? You just go, I just go back and look, what did Harold Waters do when we started? What were our foundation? What were our core values? What were the numbers then? And I just go backwards and I kind of reboot. And it starts all, you can never go wrong by looking where you've come from.
That is true.
Things just go round and round in circles, and gardening is no
one
different.
of them.
Yeah.
But I think you told me it was from either the 60s or early 70s. But I've had a lot of fun reading, a lot of good information. So I just wanted to say thank you to those guys. But we do appreciate when...
Remember when we went off to college? Yeah. I know. I got an electric typewriter. It was portable. It was like this 20-pound beast.
I know.
It had its own case. It had self-correcting tape on the ribbon. You didn't have to break out the writer. It was state-of-the-art.
Yes.
And then right after that,
I know.
computers.
Our kids are so lucky, and they have no clue. I sit there and tell them, we used to have to use self-correcting ribbons and white out. And
we used to have to go to the
library. I know.
Research
everything. We spent
everything.
hours in the periodicals.
That's right.
Those darn kids don't know
Microfiche tape. Remember? Are we dating ourselves or what? We're not that old. Yeah, really. Okay, I am.
Okay, time to move on, honey.
You know, with shout outs and reminiscing. Let's go on to garden advice.
Right.
I tell you, we do like coming to work every day. We do have great. There's something social about customers. Like we had KPPV Radio, Ken Byers, good friend of mine. He was the Grand Poobah host last Saturday. This week, it'll be today. It's Lisa LaChapelle Dando. She's coming in with Magic Radio. Good friend. We've done a lot of things together, and she's coming in to run it. But when Ken was here and his whole staff, he goes, "Wow, you have the best customers. When we go to this kind of customer, this kind of client, or this kind of, they aren't as nice." Well, yeah, half the folks coming in, it's just a therapy session. Instead, they're writing off the doctor's visit. They come to just walk amongst the plants and see things. They might take a thing home with them, or they might not. You just never know. It's just beautiful, and it is a relaxing thing at a garden center, and then it's relaxing. It's not maybe relaxing when the semis aren't stacked up at the back gate. It's a very relaxing place, and so are our customers. So they're just laid back, and it is social. Gardening is social.
It is very much a social thing. Which reminds me, this is from Winnie and Bob, and they're sending a shout out to you, saying thank you for the articles that you put in the paper. And because of you, they've been able to provide produce for a lot of their neighbors in their neighborhoods.
That's awesome. Winnie and Bob, thank you. That's so great to hear that some of the stuff you're doing is appreciated. So, thank you very much.
And it works.
It does. Just trying to be local advice at the right time makes a big difference.
It does.
And now we're to the point where we're trying to make local products that work for our local plants. We got our own local foods and local bug things, and we're growing local plants.
Yep.
So that'll grow here. And that hopefully will make you more successful.
Correct.
So if you got extras, feed the neighbors. If you got more than that, take it to the food bank, because they appreciate so much fresh produce. They don't see very much. I've taken produce that we had extra on to the food bank out in Prescott Valley, and they go, "Oh, thanks so much, Ken. We appreciate that." And you see it go right on the truck. It doesn't go into the refrigerators. There's not enough. It goes right to the trucks. It gets used that day or the next day. It's amazing.
Right. So, okay, done with my shout outs.
Okay.
But
we're halfway through the segment with nothing but shout out. But thank you, Winnie and Bob.
So the main emails and phone calls and everything this week has been thrip, and more thrip.
Is that amazing?
They're tough this year.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because it was warm or late snows. I don't know. I mean, I know some years they're worse than others. But thrip or no-see-ums. I think we covered it last week, but let's do it again.
Yeah, they just showed up this week in earnest. So we had heard rumors that they were coming. So we heard the Verde Valley, the Sedona areas. We had heard they were coming to Cordes Junction. You could almost see the customers, the migration. That's the beauty of having a regional garden center. You get to hear folks. They're coming in from everywhere. Right. And so thrip, how do you deal with them? They're little tiny things. The only way you can see them, and this is a quick bit of advice, take a white sheet of paper, typing paper, printer paper. Take it out in the yard.
What decade are you in?
Tap it over that white sheet of paper, an envelope, anything, and you won't see the actual insect. What you'll see is little red specks jumping around the paper, thus the name no-see-ums. Right. What they do is they'll go into the buds, into the flowers, onto the leaf. They'll bite the leaf so it literally curls up and goes, oh, it hurts. And it starts to weep sap, and they're sipping the sap. They are eating your plants alive, and the other indications, the blooms will fade almost immediately. They'll bloom for a day and then fade. They should bloom for a month. They're blooming for literally hours or days. They're sucking the life out of the bud. The leaves will wrinkle and curl and become damaged. They're not perfect and crisp and clean like they should be. They're damaged. You've got to spray them. This is important. You've got to get on this right away, or the damage just keeps accentuating. There's only one spray I know of, and I have tried them all. It's called Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. I love the name. Just like Captain
like
Jack.
Saying it,
you come in the garden center, you go, Ken mentioned Captain or Jack's or Dead Bug
It's not
Brew.
Captain Morgan.
No, it's where are you at?
On vacation
Fat girl.
with my
yeah,
mom.
that's right. Mexico, our other country away from our country. Anyway, it's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. You spray the whole plant till it is dripping with this product, and it knocks them right back, and it has a bit of a repelling action. Wait about 2 weeks. Do it again. If you hit it twice with this concentrate, you won't have thrip, or you'll have far less damage. There's no way to get rid of all of them. What you want to do is simply thin them because they're attacking a tree by bazillions. Now, the other technique, we have ladybugs here at the garden center. You could release ladybugs at the base of the tree, and or the shrub or the rose, whatever, and they'll crawl up and they'll eat. They're ferocious appetites. We'll go over how to release them, maybe the next segment you're on.
Okay.
We'll go into details because there's a trick to keeping them from flying away.
Hence the poem, Ladybug, Ladybug.
Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, that's what you want to spray. We'll be back with more garden tips, tricks, and advice.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Waters with the Plant of the Week and our Mother's Day gift baskets.
The garden center is stocked full of these big, bold flowers grown to perfection. They mesh, intertwine, and spill into color.
We've grown 150 of these festive baskets that are the epitome of fragrance and beauty, all for under $25.
Each says loud and clear, I love you, Mom. Enjoy the flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love gift baskets for Mom, they love to shop.
Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead, cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet, rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Now, we are into the peak of the flower, color, leafy time to plant things. So, fruit trees, crab apples, red buds, all the flowering trees have been magnificent, in full color. Great time to plant. We've got lilacs in bloom right now. So the forsythia, the quince bloomed, and the forsythia bloomed. Now it's the lilac's turn. Then it will be the rose of Sharon. Then it will be the crepe myrtles. And there's a sequence that happens through the season. We're also at the garden center loading up right now with many of the perennials, that is, lower growing flowering plants that come back every year. Wildflowers is another name in the mountains of Arizona. So you can get coreopsis and gaillardias and echinaceas and salvias. There's all sages, many varieties that are good for pollinating, good for, many of them are drought hardy and animal resistive. And we've got them merchandised throughout the garden centers, here at Watters Garden Center at least, by theme, by these are for the shade, these are for blistering hot sun, these are for animal proof, these are for attracting butterflies and hummingbirds. But you need the flower to really do the magic. If you want to attract more butterflies, they're attracted to the color. So how do you get more blooms out of your plants? Whether it's a shrub or a perennial or even an annual, that is, plants that bloom like crazy and then they die in the winter. Those are annual flowers. Many of your tomatoes. Some of your herbs are annuals. Most herbs are perennial. Plant an oregano once, it's good to go for years to come. Rosemary, lavender, thyme, you plant these once and they're perennial. They come back year after year. Basil, more of an annual. No matter what it is, you need, these are very hungry. It takes a lot of energy to create the flowers and all this new growth. And if you're not feeding these plants regularly, they'll poop out on you and they'll become leggy. They'll become more open. They won't have the flowers. The flowers will become smaller or less buds. So the secret, I'm having a lot of customers coming in with their lilacs right now because they're in bloom all around the neighborhood and theirs aren't blooming. Ken, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm going, well, it's probably a food thing. Oh, no, I fertilized them. What'd you fertilize them with? Oh, Miracle-Gro. When'd you do that last? Oh, last year. Oh, I'm so frustrated. Now, let me tell you how to get the most color. My name's Ken. We're friends. We're just hanging over the back fence. We're talking gardening. This is what's working in my yard, and I think it would work in your yard as equally as well. In the spring, I fertilize with the all-purpose plant food, that 744 all-natural food. So I put that down as the core. For my big, beefy, flowering shrub kind of things, my roses, my salvias, autumn sages, Russian sage, camellias, things that put on a lot of flower, lilacs and forsythia, things that put on a lot of flower. In addition to that all-purpose food, I also put down treble superphosphate. So superphosphate, it's 0,15,0. It's that middle number is for fruits and blooms. If you want bigger fruits, or more blooms, bigger blooms, more fragrance, you give it phosphorus. So I'll put down on my shrubs and things, trees, the all-purpose food and superphosphate at the same time, usually in spring. Okay, and that guarantees that I get lots of buds throughout the year. For my smaller things, I'm more strategic. That is a little Gaillardia. My salvia is out in a container. The more flowery perennial annuals, definitely. This is what I do. In the spring, I give them the all-purpose plant food. That is for everything in the yard. I'll give it that. But especially for my raised beds and containers, I have lots of pots with pretty flowers in them. Lots of perennials along the sidewalks and stuff. There, I'll mix up a liquid fertilizer, and I'm not talking Miracle-Gro. That stuff is garbage. If you've got that, stop using it in the mountains of Arizona. It's killing your plants. The salt that's in that, it's a salt-based fertilizer, is destroying your soil. It's interacting with your water and all that alkalinity, and it's harming the plants. So we don't even sell that here at Watters Garden Center. It's just not worth damaging our customers' plants. But we made our own water-soluble food. It's called Flower Power 54. It's 54% phosphorus. It's as high as I could go and still keep that phosphorus liquid. So you mix this up a scoop per gallon, and I'll go through every couple of weeks, and I'll add to the water to those flowering smaller plants. I'll give them Flower Power. And so I'll just water it in every couple of weeks. If you've got a party or you want to impress friends or folks are coming in from Michigan, they're going to visit, I'll make sure about a week prior to that visit, when we're going to have that outdoor barbecue, I'll give my flowers some Flower Power fertilizer. It interacts with the water very well, but it's 54% phosphorus. This plant takes it up right now and starts setting more buds right now, and you'll find you've got unbelievable hanging baskets, beautiful pansies and petunias and geraniums. It's the way to get your flowers really to be over the top.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Growing up in Prescott, we knew spring was here when my grandmother's lilacs bloomed. I'm Lisa Waters Lane, and my grandma would be thrilled with the new Bloomerang pink perfume lilacs at Waters Garden Center. New pink blooms fill the landscape with fragrance of grandma over and over again in the garden. Mine bloomed 3 times last year, making spring last well into fall, all for under $25. Lilacs like grandma used to grow, and better. Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Ouch! Aw, man, another rock! Hi, I'm Rusty. You know, the shovel you're destroying trying to dig that hole? Sure, I get it. We got these beautiful plants at Waters Garden Center. Waters asked if they could plant them for you. But no, you had to do it yourself, even though they would plant, deliver, and guarantee your plants for 2 years. I hope I don't end up like that old pickaxe. Ouch! Prevent yard tool abuse. Waters Garden Center. They plant, deliver, and guarantee.
Okay, so we are back with the Ken and Lisa show, just because, I don't know, it's fun.
I thought it was the Lisa and Ken show.
Well, okay, I'd go with that.
Oh,
sure,
okay.
I got no ego. Okay, maybe not. You laugh too loud.
I've been married to you for 25 years.
Not yet, July 25th.
Okay.
That's our silver.
Pretty darn close.
It is pretty
We can
darn
call
close.
it 25.
Anyway, we are giving Lisa the plant segment, just your Lisa's favorites, or Lisa's list, or Lisa's garden tips. And so you went out and got some garden plants that you tend to favor that would work well up here in the mountains of Arizona.
Yes.
What do you got for this week?
Well, this week we're looking at, we thought, well, we need to put together some tables of flowers for people who have critters that get into their yards.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we were looking deer, very common here, javelina, that type of thing, rabbits.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, let's put together a table that has flowers on it or shrubs that they will stay away from.
Yeah, we should set the stage on that because I love what you did out there. I mean, you've been busy with our daughter, Kate. So we got
Yes.
the third generation Waters out there. All week, been putting your thumbprint out there, and it is unusual. Rabbits, deer, and javelina. You've been out there, and there's such a theme that you set up a whole table of perennials. I think Patty put resistive. She was afraid to put proof out there. I said, no, make a commitment. Proof. Give me the bulletproof plants that animals just absolutely don't bother. And so you all put together a whole section of just animal-proof perennials that you can put out there. Even where they're bedding, they won't bother them. Maybe not. Okay. Close.
I kind of like the resistive.
Okay. So the plants, animals won't
tend
bother.
to not really want to eat.
Yeah.
How's that? Okay. And these are all perennials. So I kind of went through and I picked some of the favorites that I like. And the first one is the Shasta Daisy.
Yeah, perfect.
That's an old timer, perfect, beautiful, kind of screams spring and
It
summer.
does, yeah.
You know, with that dark green foliage and the pretty white heads that come up and the
Now,
flowers.
are they showing flowers right now?
They're just starting to.
Oh, nice. So we're talking Shasta daisies. Is that that's
right,
daisy?
right.
Knee high, dark, rich green. You would swear the animals would like them.
Right.
But we actually make bug killers out of those. So you can. It's actually a bug repellent. Bugs don't like them.
Right.
Animals don't like them. So it's a great one to have in the yard where you've just had real issues. And perennials are those that come back every year. So they
Right.
just keep expand. They keep growing,
Getting
clustering.
bigger.
Yeah,
But
great
they're
advice.
just great in the perennial beds or even just out by themselves in the
Yeah.
yard. Do a wonderful thing.
Shasta daisies.
Shasta Daisy. The next one I like is yarrow. Now, this is great for if you have a more natural yard
Sure.
or a low maintenance yard. The yarrow is great for that, and
Yeah.
it's comes in a couple of different colors. You got the old standby with the yellow.
Yep.
I think that's the moonshine.
Sure.
And then there's I forgot the name of it. That kind of red terracotta color.
Don't
Very,
ask me.
very
There's
pretty.
so many yarrow colors, and we're trying to grow more and more of them because
Yeah.
they're so hardy.
Right.
So drought hardy, mainly. There's just no maintenance. They can go. In fact, they'll naturalize. They'll actually, you put them on drip or water them by hand for a season, and all of a sudden, they'll go on their own. So they need no care, and they'll kind of reseat themselves in
Right.
the yard. So our front yard at the house is lush. It's high maintenance, high water, high fertilized, high. It's beautiful. Everyone goes by and goes, "Oh, your yard is so nice." But the backyard is all natural. It's that Mediterranean, southwestern, no care. I want no commitment, but it has to look gorgeous all the time
Right.
because we
And it is
entertain a lot.
pretty.
But we don't hardly. It takes no care or water or anything. Yarrow is one of our standards
Right.
back there because it's so tough.
Great full sun plant
Yeah.
too. Could take the heat and
Erosion
on
control.
going.
I mean, just any of that kind of stuff. Birds like it. Butterflies will land on them, but the animals don't like that fuzzy foliage.
Right.
So it gets stuck in their throat, and they go, "Yeah,
where's the water?
I need a Coca-Cola. Where are they?"
So yeah, yarrow's a great one. The other one is meadow sage, which has that real pretty kind of purple spike flower that comes up out of it. It's kind of a clump,
Yeah.
with foliage and then the purple spikes that come out of it. Very attractive, very nice, adding color into the yard, and the animals really just don't like it.
That's the same one we're using in the raised beds going down the back. It's
Right.
what? Not even knee high. It's
No,
just
stay
above
shorter.
ankle.
I'd say
A foot
12 to
high?
18, yeah.
Yeah, a foot high or so. Another one that spreads and super long bloom cycle
Yes,
for a
yes.
perennial. Most perennials bloom for a month and they're done.
Right.
This one blooms and then keeps blooming and keeps blooming, and then by fall it's done blooming. So it's just
Yes,
kind of
it
one of
is.
those crazy purple flowers
Right.
that keeps on going.
Very pretty. So the other one that has more yellow orangey flowers is the gaillardia, or sometimes
perfect.
called blanket flower is another one you hear it called by. And there's a few different varieties of that, from the fanfare. I think Monrovia has a lemons and oranges
Oh,
one.
neat. I
Yeah,
haven't seen that one.
It's pretty neat.
I like fanfare because it's when
it's
you look at the
beautiful.
flowers, it's not petals. It looks like trumpets coming out from
Right.
that seed head. The sparrows love to eat the seeds off that. But it's got, thus the name fanfare. It looks like trumpets are coming out. And so you have to take a close look at that flower because it's so spectacular.
Right.
But it has that classic blue foliage. Animals don't like the color blue for some reason. I don't know
Right.
why. But they
I'm
just...
never colorblind.
That's one we put in hydromulch, the seed mix, so that we can do road cuts or erosion control or septic tank cuts, construction scars. Gaillardia must go in that one because
Right.
it's so hardy, reseeds, keeps everything in play, and the birds love them,
Yeah.
but the animals don't.
Right. And it really is an attractive flower
Yeah.
on it. So that's another nice one. The other one is euphorbia.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And those are kind of cool. Really add different texture. They don't bloom.
They do bloom, just it looks like the
No.
foliage.
Okay.
It's just the blooms. You can't tell it's blooming because the bloom looks like the foliage. It's kind of a cool, funky space.
It
moon,
is. It adds
moonflower.
a different texture into the yard, something a little different. But yeah, really great plant. And there again, it comes in like some variegated colors,
Yeah.
some that are just green. So that's a
Different
neat one
colors,
to look
mix
at.
and match, up to about a knee high. And euphorbias are related to poinsettias. So they have that same kind of white sappy when you break
Right.
off the sap. And I think that's why the animals don't like
Probably.
them. They have that nasty sap that gets on your skin and goes, "I can't get this off my fur. What the heck is going on here?" So I think that's
Right.
why it's keeping them off. And so euphorbias, if you're not familiar with those, it's a perennial that's evergreen. It's super drought hardy because it holds a lot of sap in the stems, in the foliage, and yet animals don't bother them. So put them in the rock gardens. Put them by the driveway, up and down the length of the driveway where there's a lot of animal activity. Full sun equals nice, fuller plant. Euphorbias are they're a natural for the mountains of Arizona.
Now, is gopher spurge, that's a variety of
I believe it
euphorbia,
is,
isn't
and
it?
it's also
Yeah.
a euphorbia. Yeah, keeps gophers away. Yeah, that's so repelling underground and above ground. It just keeps on repelling.
It's the super plant. Okay.
I always tell folks, well, if it doesn't keep them away, you can always take the bucket and throw it at the animals, keep them away.
Okay. We'll move on from that one. Next one is daylilies. Another great plant that likes the full sun and just kind of keeps on blooming through the summer and tough. It has that real pretty green foliage on it as well.
Yeah.
But just a super plant for out in the yard, low maintenance. Another good one is any of the varieties of salvia.
Yeah, lots of salvias. Or sages is another, any of those. Anytime it says salvia or sage, good plant.
Right. They'll stay away from it. And a lot of, most people are used to the autumn sage.
Right.
But there's a lot of new colors in
There
that. The pinks, the hot lip, which is the red and white. There's some real dark purples.
We've even got some over in Cottonwood they're growing that are apricot colored.
Yes.
They're really
those are
cool.
neat.
So
those are neat.
Yeah,
So,
we've got that one, the red, I think hot lips. That's the one with the red and the white flower. It looks like lipsticks, like you've taken lipstick and dabbed each one. And then Gara is right next to that. So out by the
Yeah,
mailbox,
nice.
it's staggered, and it's beautiful the way they summer bloom. And the animals, we've got javelina and rabbit. They don't bother either one of those.
Yeah, because Gara's not on our list, but we've never had critters
it's a great
eat
plant.
it.
Yeah, just because it's not on the list doesn't mean it's
it
not.
better get put on the list.
Ask us because we're always adding to the
Right.
list. So good.
I'm changing
Look at
it.
the table Lisa and Kate put together on animal-proof perennials, and then we'll get you some more. We'll just keep that stocked throughout the season so you got some good starting points.
Right.
We'll be back with more garden tips in just a moment.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
New to the area with your dream home on the inside, but surrounded by boring? A castle surrounded by rock is just so bland, but we can help.
At Waters, we have a team of plant experts ready to dress up and decorate even the most boring of landscapes with something fresh, new, and evergreen.
Plus, we deliver and plant for you.
Designer plants with the experts to help you beautify your new abode.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our single blue pinyon pine.
This new blue variety lends to a tidy appearance in a bold, tough tree.
Highly desirable for its edible pine nuts, so eat up.
Let it grow wild. Or this 10-foot tree can be shaped for the holidays.
These perfectly formed trees are just $85 and only found at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love native pines and pine nuts, they love to shop. And we are in the studio. Oh, I've got a special segment for you folks. I've got an expert that knows how to kill things, basically. He's Gary Stormandinoli. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Oh, L&L Nursery. He is the largest. He represents the largest supplier of basically fertilizers, bug killers, potting soils, garden gift. I mean, you guys are just a behemoth when it comes to gardening supply stuff. How many states are you guys in? L&L Nursery Supply. How big?
Oh, we cover everything from California coast over to Texas.
Oh, really?
We go straight up to Wyoming. We do Alaska.
Okay. Oh,
Western Alaska, and then we also do Hawaii.
so how you're barging or shipping that stuff up, and then have a
Yes.
warehouse up there or something?
No,
and
it
distribute.
goes straight into the nurseries.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
no holding yard.
Now you are responsible. You're the guy for all of Arizona. What's your
I'm
territory?
kind of back. I'm just northern Arizona now.
Okay.
If you draw a line from Lake Havasu over to Pine Top Lakeside and
Okay.
then north, that's my territory.
So Gary was in the eye. I was teaching our staff on scale, pine scale, and then how to best effectively, how to keep pines healthy. That was it. And so he's one of our trainers, and you really don't deal with consumers.
Correct.
Your main focus is the garden centers, and then making them as smart as possible so that they can represent, make sure the consumer uses it correctly. And so
That's
you were
right.
training our staff on pinyon pines. I'd love to go deeper with that. If you don't mind sharing or getting it down to consumer level or listener level, How
Sure.
if someone's got a pinyon pine or just pine trees in general, because flathead borers, bark beetles, tip borers on cypress, they get into evergreen. So we have evergreen forests here. So the bugs seem to be specialized in eating evergreens. And so you were training us on that. Pinyon pines, let's start with that and see where it goes.
Yeah, the pinyon pines, what you want to look for is any residue on the needles or down towards the branch itself.
Okay.
Look closely at it, see if there's any reddish or you'll be able to tell, if there's a scale on there. Scale's difficult to kill with an insecticide, so you basically have to smother it.
Okay.
So what you want to use is a summer oil or a horticultural oil. Spray the trees. Generally, you see it starts out in the springtime as the weather warms, and spray the scale down or spray the tree down with a horticultural spray, and it smothers that scale that's on the branches, and that's the best way to control it. And it's environmentally, environmentally friendly, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, it's organic. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it's a natural
Put
product.
oil on your skin.
Yeah,
just
it's not a
keep the-
poison.
Yeah.
So poisons don't affect it because it builds up this coating over the scale itself, and the insecticides can't penetrate it.
So it slips right off, or
Right.
it
So
doesn't.
the oil coats that outer shell of the scale and smothers the insect that's within that shell. So
Now,
that's the best
scale
way.
has a crawler stage, so they've had spring, they've laid their eggs, now, then they hatch, and they crawl up. They call it the
Right.
crawler stage, up the branch, up the trunk, and they reattach themselves to the new needle growth.
Right.
And so on the needle, you'll see this little black dot, or it looks, you can't
Yeah,
see it's
little-
an insect. It
little
looks like
bumps. Yeah.
like someone took a Sharpie and just kind of put
Right.
a number 2 pencil on each of the needles. It actually pierces that needle, then sucks the juice out of it till it dies, till it shrivels
Yeah,
and
you
dies.
see a yellowing and then a browning of that needle.
Gotcha. That's an indication of scale.
Right.
So if once it attaches itself, it'll put a hard surface over the body of that to keep ladybugs and praying mantis and things off of that insect, but it's still alive underneath that scale. Right. And you're saying if we coat that with an oil, it'll suffocate that insect.
Correct. Yeah.
That's good to know. I knew the crawler stage, it would kill that, but then anything will kill a crawler. An insect, it's got a soft body, and so they just attack a tree by the thousands of insects. So every single needle will be infected with the scale. So I've always said use the systemic drench. So use the plant protector at the base to taint the soil. So
Right.
when they attach that needle, when they pierce that needle, it'll suck the juice that's been tainted with a plant protector. One application lasts a year, but you're saying could I take care of all of it with just a spray of an oil?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
The plant protector is great, but basically it's most effective when the tree is actively growing.
Correct. Yeah.
So during
yeah.
the wintertime, it's not going to do anything. And
True.
they're not that active in the winter. They're more active as the weather warms up. This year we're seeing it earlier than usual.
Oh yeah.
But they can affect it all year long,
Yeah.
especially in the warmer weather.
Well, we had such a mild winter this year that I don't think the scale ever stopped sucking the juice out of that,
I don't
that
think so.
tree. The sap didn't slow down. Usually if you go down to single digits, 0, sub-zero, everything locks into place. It just stops flowing, and so the insect stops eating and almost hibernates. Well, they just kept going this year,
Yeah.
and we're seeing more damage to the pine trees than ever, basically. So now, what about the height of a tree? So if I can't get that spray that high, let's say it's a 30-foot pinyon pine, a Hosen sprayer will take you a certain angle. You got to spray it from a couple angles to kind of get the whole needle growth. It's hard to spray a big pinyon pine. Could you use plant protector and the oils in conjunction to kind of
Sure.
thin the numbers with the oil, and then the more permanent fix for the entire structure would be the plant protector?
Yeah, the
What's your
plant
thought
protector,
on that?
put it around the base. Make sure you get it out to the root,
Okay.
out to the perimeter of the tree, the drip line of the tree, because that's where the roots are taking up that insecticide.
Okay.
The other way to do it is with an ace cap.
Oh, that's a
where
good thought.
you're actually implanting it into the tree itself.
Yeah.
So that if you have plastic down or some rocks or something where you can't get to that root system with the insecticide, the ACE cap is a material that you drill as a capsule with the insecticide in it. You drill into the trunk of the tree, implant it below the cambium, and the tree will actually grow over that implant.
Yeah.
And it does the same thing. As the tree is taking its sap up into the foliage, it draws up that orthene is what's in that ACE cap.
Oh, I did
So
not
it'll do
know
the
that.
same thing.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Now, I also noticed I had scale on my ceanothus, my native evergreen shrub. It's growing in my backyard. It grows with the oaks, the scrub oaks, ceanothus. It's a great little plant. I trim it back. It's cute as can be. Scale got on that last year, a huge scale. It had to be 5 times the size of a pinyon pine scale. Gnarly looking thing. I caught it because some of the branches were dying off. I'm going, what the heck is going on? I take a close look, and scale was all over it. I sprayed it with permethrin, which is kind of this harsh chemical, and I'd rather not spray that if I don't have to. I'd rather keep it organic if I could, but I was so desperate. You're saying the oil would probably also work even on the larger scale. Just put it off? Oh,
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to remember that. That's valuable to know. Nothing safer or less expensive.
It's very
than oil.
inexpensive, and it's an oil, so it's a natural product. It's not harmful to, birds and other animals, even other insects.
Okay.
So it works really well.
Horticultural grade oil.
Yes.
And you guys provide we have it
Yes.
here at the nursery. We like that one because it's a higher grade, it's a better quality.
It's very good quality.
And so you can spray it even when the temperatures creep up into the 80s, maybe up to 90 or so, 85, 90.
Limitation on is anything over 90,
Okay.
but I've seen it work even above that temperature. But
Really?
90 is what the limitation is.
Gotcha.
The lower end of that limitation is 40 degrees.
Okay.
So anything between 40 and 90, it's effective.
And most days in the mountains of Arizona, could I do this? In the winter, it's going to be above 40 in the mountains. I could spray it during the day, and it
Sure.
would knock it down. Then at night, it'll freeze. But in the summer, it's maybe 95. But I could spray towards the evening, so
Spray
it's going to
in
be
the evening
below
or really
90.
early in the morning. So
Yeah,
there's a chance
good
to
idea.
dry. Yeah,
So the mountains, we could use that easily year round.
sure.
I learned something.
Yeah.
That is valuable. That's thank you for sharing that. And now I can keep my yard even more organic with horticultural grade oil.
Yes.
Sold here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks so much, Gary, with L&L Nursery Supply. Be right back with more garden tips, tricks, and techniques on The Mountain Gardener. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead, cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop. New to the area with your dream home on the inside, but surrounded by boring? A castle surrounded by rock is just so bland, but we can help.
At Waters, we have a team of plant experts ready to dress up and decorate even the most boring of landscapes with something fresh, new, and evergreen.
Plus, we deliver and plant for you.
Designer plants with the experts to help you beautify your new abode.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Okay, so that storm, remember, what was that, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago? It was so windy. It was ridiculous. The last week, cold, it was just not very nice. And the garden center was not fun to be in a garden center. Working here, trees were falling down. You're getting bushwhacked everywhere. Just things were laying over because it was so windy and cold. It frosted 3 or 4 times. We saw some damage. If you saw some damage from frost last week, you see some brown leaves or some blackened leaves, or they shriveled up and fell off. That's frost damage from last week. Easy to recover. Make sure you fertilized last spring, March or so, 1st of April. But with that, give those plants that were damaged or just aren't quite up to snuff, they just aren't looking as robust as you want them to, mix up some flower power, fertilizer, so liquid, water-soluble food, sprinkle that around the root zone of the plant, and they will leaf out like instantaneously. Like, wow, I can't believe they responded so quick. A little bit of food right now, with as warm as it is, will just ignite that plant with new growth. It'll replace the buds that you might have lost. It'll replace the flowers it might have lost in pretty short order. It looks nice. The weather pattern looks, it's going to be we're into the planting season. So I think that's how you recover. Things that are maybe not leafed out yet. Some things, I'm getting some calls on grapes, crepe myrtles, desert willows, or some things that love the summer and they have not leafed out yet. So if you gave those things a little bit of flower power as well, it would give them, with the warmth and a little bit of instantaneous fertilizer, it can access that food right now. You'll find they'll leaf out quite quickly. So they'll start go. Part of that is weather related, day part, how long the days are. But I think the stars are starting to align for a nice growing season. I think those are ways to ignite that new growth. And so roses are starting to show up. I think next week we've got 700 roses showing up here at Waters Garden Center. The grasses, even coral forester grass, the pampas grass, your Japanese striped grass, variegated red fountain grass, they're starting to grow. So they've been in this hold pattern for that cold. It slowed down the crops by a week. So we're like a week behind for where we were last year with the crop rotation, because they were in the greenhouse, but they were cold and they were windy and they just shut down for a while. Well, now they're coming online where they're really starting to grow fast. Your yard will be the same way. They were slowed down by that cold, and now they'll speed back up. The secret is give them enough nutrients throughout the season, especially as they wake up and start using all that food to form their flowers or form their leaf buds. You'll find you have a nicer, fuller plant than you had without that. Also, it'll compensate. The aphids are ridiculous right now. They're up in the pine trees. So if you park underneath the pine tree right now, your car will be spotted with little clear specks. That's aphid poo or dew that came down. Aphids are just eating some of your plants. By fertilizing those, it'll help those plants stay healthier, more robust, and they'll fill out better. So that's throughout the week. If you get in trouble and you need an assistance, Lisa and I are here. One of us are here every day. Plus, we've got an entire staff of 20, 30 people, just nothing but plant experts. They're there to help. Ask for help. We've got a microscope here. We'll show you a close-up of an aphid. It's frightening. So you can come. We can be there as a resource for you if you need help throughout the garden. Planting season's here. Start your engines, all you gardeners, and enjoy.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Waters with the Plant of the Week and our Mother's Day gift baskets.
The garden center is stocked full of these big, bold flowers grown to perfection. They mesh, intertwine, and spill into color.
We've grown 150 of these festive baskets that are the epitome of fragrance and beauty, all for under $25.
Each says loud and clear, "I love you, Mom. Enjoy the flowers."
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love gift baskets for Mom, they love to shop.
Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead, cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet, rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop.
You've been listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to the area. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.